Welcome to the Better Stack podcast, where we have conversations about software development, AI, and all sorts of new technology. I'm one of your hosts, Andres, and I'm joined today by
James. Hello.
Josh. And Florian.
Hi, Florian. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess I want to start by asking you about your YouTube channel, which is NeuralNine. It's a pretty big channel. You have almost 500,000 subscribers. So tell us about it. How did it came about? How did you start it? And how did it grew to such a size?
Yeah, so the channel was actually not the first thing I started. I initially started by writing programming books, and I started this already like 10 years ago. So basically the motivation in the beginning was like very financially driven. I was in high school, and in Austria, I don't know if this is an international thing, we have a thing when you graduate from high school, you do something like a graduation journey. So you go and party for a week with your classmates usually. And it costs a lot of money. And I'm not from a wealthy family, so I had to find a way to afford it. I didn't have any money back then. And basically, when you're in high school, you have two realistic options. Either you get a job, a Saturday job in a supermarket, or you do some random stuff on the weekends, or you find some way to earn money online, or you find some clients. And I didn't have any clients that were interested in my work. So I basically Googled, like probably everyone that age, how to make money online. Found the various stuff like get into crypto or do affiliate marketing. I tried to have a blog at one point where I tried to have affiliate links and also Google AdSense. Didn't work at all. And then I found the KDP, so Kindle Direct Publishing, which is basically Amazon's way to self-publish your books. And I just started writing Word documents. I was just like opened Word and I typed everything I know about beginner level Python, Hello World, variables, data types, everything. And I just put it online there. And I was hoping to make some money. And to my surprise, actually, people started buying it. And in the first month, I made $20. And then in the next month, I made $30 and then 60. At some point, I reached like the peak month for a very long time was I think 1,200, which was roughly what I had to earn for the graduation journey, essentially. And this is how I started the teaching route of like content creation, you could say. And YouTube actually only started years later. So there's a couple of stuff in between, but YouTube started 3 years later, I think, where I just thought about after scaling up my books, after scaling up Instagram to build this into a brand, an international brand, because I initially started in German and then I started doing it in English, and English is much more difficult because you have a lot more competition. So I started YouTube primarily as another channel to push my content, to push my educational content. And I started having a schedule where I published 4 times, or actually like every other day, so 3 to 4 times a week. And I kept this up for 5 years, and now I'm doing 2 times per week.
So the books you mentioned is like the Python Bible, right? You have like 7 editions of it. So as I understand, like the YouTube channel was like a way for you to market that book at the time?
Not really. I actually started when I was very young. I also had a tutorial channel. So I started programming when I was around the age of 9 or 10. And I think around the age of 12 or 13, I had a YouTube channel with 10 videos where I was teaching Visual Basic stuff. So I always had this passion to do videos. But at that point, I really wanted to just build the brand in general. So NeuralNine, I built this as a brand, and the Instagram channel and the YouTube channel were standalone things, and I only started linking my books once they grew. So I didn't use them primarily as a book marketing channel.
Okay. I just want to go back and ask about the graduation journey. Is this a mandatory thing in Austria, or is it like you can choose to do it?
It's not mandatory. It's like the usual thing you do. So you finish school, and usually you do that with your classmates. You don't have to. No one is forcing you to do that, but it's like this traditional thing that you just disappear for a week and party once you graduate.
Like you started YouTube like to get the money to go on that trip, but like was your end goal to eventually, like have that as a side hustle and get a job strictly in tech, or was like the end goal to just keep building out this brand into what it is now?
I mean, YouTube wasn't started for the money reason. The book started for money. That was the primary incentive for the books. YouTube started as a mix of building the brand and doing what I love to do. But it's not like the end destination. I don't see myself long-term as a content creator primarily. I don't want to quit content creation, but I would like to to do more tech stuff in general. So to do more engineering, to do more development. And I also already do that. I do freelancing and I have a startup that I co-founded last year. But it's on the one hand a stepping stone, but also something that I always like to do, like teaching stuff. I think that's one of the things that I can do best, taking something super complex and breaking it down in a super simple way without all the details and all the technical jargon.
I was going to ask how you marketed the book when you first started, because I assume obviously there would have been a few books out there already on sort of Python programming. So sort of, did you do anything on like Instagram and all of that, or did it just pick up on Amazon naturally?
No, it actually picked up because that was the thing that surprised me in the beginning, that once I published the book in German, I think that was the key thing. I later also published the English book without having a brand and nobody bought it. But in a German market, when you Googled or when you Amazoned, or rather, Python for beginners in German, you found the $40 books or €40 books, €50 books, but you didn't find the €5 little manuscript. So that was a niche that was super easy to exploit, because if you look for Python books, you only find the very expensive ones.
So at this point, your YouTube channel is 7 years old. You have more than 1,000 videos. Kudos on that, by the way.
Thank you.
But I probably assume that you got attention from the Python Foundation or people there. Do they know about you? Do they sponsor you sometimes? Like, what's the relationship?
No, I actually never got any contact from there. I mean, companies message me on a regular basis to promote their product, which is the main way I currently monetize YouTube, just sponsorships, but I was never contacted by Python. At least I don't know about it, not on my main mail.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Is it just you like juggling all these different things right now? Like you're tutoring, YouTube, the books. Is it just you?
Yeah. So it's a one-man show. I mean, the startup is co-founded with 3 other guys. So the startup is a separate thing. I also don't earn money yet from it. So everything I do for a living, so to say, I do solo.
Tell us about the startup. What is it?
It's in the real estate sector, you could say. So it's a platform for multiple things, for monitoring all your loans, essentially. The ideal customer is a real estate developer, investor that has a lot of loans, a lot of contracts. They lose track of everything. They don't know when to refinance. And they have Excel sheets. They maybe don't have Excel sheets. Everything's chaotic and messed up. And our system is basically a monitoring system and a document extraction system. It has many different components, and probably our CEO could explain that better to you. I'm the technical guy, so I'm implementing everything, building everything. Not too much on the product side, but in a nutshell, it's for real estate developers and investors that want to have overview over everything. You can connect your bank accounts, and you have an all-in-one system that replaces all your Excel sheets.
And what's the name of it?
It's called loanmap, like loan
Map.
and then map.
Yeah. And are you going like the traditional VC route, flying to San Francisco and applying to Y Combinator, or is it like strictly European at this point?
It's first of all bootstrapped and also European. We're actually even focusing only on Austria right now. And then we're going to expand to different markets, because real estate and the data that you need to extract from the loans and from the contracts is very different from country to country. So it doesn't make sense to start a European solution or an international solution. It makes sense to go market by market. So that's what we're doing right now, starting small.
And how's it going so far?
It's good. We do have some income, but it's still in the founding phases, you could say. So it's already live. You can sign up for it. You can use it, but we're still developing it. We're still improving it. It's not yet a complete finished product. It will never be finished, but like it's still in the starting phase, I would say.
Cool.
I was going to ask, going back to sort of the Python coding books, do you still write them, or have you not written one in a while? And also, I know I'm bringing up AI here, but have you noticed that sales have dropped off with AI, or is it stayed steady?
It's difficult to say, because my sales regarding the books dropped off years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure whether that's due to AI. I stopped writing them. I don't know when the last publication was. My algorithms book was the last one. I think it's maybe 5 years ago, maybe 4. I don't know. I've not written them ever since, but I wanna write again, because on the one hand, it's a nice passive income stream, you could say, but also I like writing, and I also think that it can deliver a lot of value in combination with the videos. But I'm not happy as of right now with the quality of the old books, so I don't push my books too much. In my videos, you will only see them in the outro briefly. I think they're good books, they're okay to read, but I don't feel comfortable like pushing them as like, hey, go take a look if you want to learn Python, buy the books. I want to rework them, but juggling all these things, it's difficult to find the time to do like this when you can do all the other stuff. You focus on the immediate money that you get out through YouTube sponsorships, whatever. Then you have to do freelancing. It's kind of difficult to get to it. But one of the things that I want to do in the future, that I want to transition into, so to say, is to have my YouTube income be less reliant on sponsors. I still want to take sponsors here and there, but I want to go more the individual product route. So either books again, but also courses, because I think when you do courses, you don't have to focus on the algorithm and trying to make everything flashy and exciting. You can do a deep 20, 30-hour course where you teach the boring stuff that people actually benefit from, and you don't have to focus on whether that's going to be a good video for sponsors.
Do you find the courses are still sort of gaining viewership, or again, sort of related to AI, or are people seeking them out less? Or do you think there's always a need for good quality teaching?
I don't know, because I don't have any courses yet. Yeah. I can say my YouTube views dropped off a little bit over the last couple of years. I'm not sure whether that's due to AI, whether that's just YouTube itself, or it's my content, because maybe, I don't know, content used to be better. But it's hard to say, because I think that my audience to a large degree understands that learning to code is still very important, that you're not gonna solve all your problems by just using a coding agent. So it's hard to say whether the drop in viewership is due to AI. I think part of it probably is, but maybe people are also just focusing more on short-term content.
So the it's doing really good. And, like a lot of other channels, like a lot smaller than you, probably hit a ceiling at some point. What do you think is going to be like the next big challenge for you as you grow out your channel more?
That's a good question. I think I'm thinking about this right now, because I see my numbers not declining. I'm still growing. I get subscribers, I get views and everything, but the growth has slowed down quite substantially. So it's basically almost a flat line, going up just a little bit. And I think that probably I have to reinvent my channel to some degree. I don't know what exactly that means. Still something I try to figure out, but it has to be something that doesn't just repeat the pattern that I have been doing the last 7 years, because it worked up until this point, but I think I have to change something. Yeah, I'm still thinking about this. I'm going back and forth between maybe going into a specific niche or just doing stuff for fun. I think my ideal setup would be to not think about this, even to not think of YouTube as a business that I try to maximize views on, but to actually live primarily from startups, from software products, from freelancing, from doing what I actually like to do, which is develop and program, and to then make videos that are just interesting to me. So not thinking, is this a good video? Will I get subscribers from it? Will my channel grow? But just, hey, I found this cool thing while building the startup. Here's what I want to share with you. And I actually think that this is the content that will make people even more interested in the channel, paradoxically. But you cannot do it when you're stressed about getting views.
Yeah, I think we've also seen on our channel that whenever we post video that is not AI, there are like people who are like, oh, I'm so happy that there's a video that is not AI. So yeah, so there's definitely like two camps of the YouTube viewers. I wanted to ask, in your channel, what has been like the biggest achievement or the biggest peak? Like, did you have like a video that went completely viral or something like that?
Yeah, actually, this is interesting, because it was in the first year or first or second year, I started doing, let's call it cybersecurity content, which YouTube didn't think is cybersecurity. They thought it was something else. But basically, I started doing videos on stuff like keyloggers or Trojan horses in Python. It wasn't really a like proper hack that's dangerous or anything. It was just a thing that keeps logging your keys. And I always said, like, this is for educational purposes. Don't use this for anything wrong. These videos skyrocketed like crazy, million views, more than 1 million views. But then YouTube started flagging my videos, and I got strike after strike, and I had to delete all of them because they basically threatened to take down my channel if I don't do that.
Oh, wow.
So these were definitely the videos. I think if there wasn't a restriction, my channel would probably already be at 1 million, because people were crazy about these videos. After that, it was difficult to find a niche like this. I didn't find any video concept that was that interesting to people. But I think the most successful one on my channel right now is probably my intelligent AI chatbot. So what works well on my channel in terms of views is oftentimes, interestingly, GUI applications. So just graphical user interfaces, just basic GUI applications in Python. Everything that has to do with finance seems to work quite well. So stock prediction, crypto prediction. At the end of the day, I think what gets you millions of views is stuff that sounds, if I may say so, stupid. Like predicting the stock market with AI is like not feasible. You're not going to do it. But if you make a video about it and you do something that seems fancy, people are going to watch it. Hacking was the same principle. But yeah, the most viral videos were the ones that were banned.
And I actually saw on your channel, your oldest video is how to create candlestick charts in Python. So you actually started with that trend.
Yeah. So it was, I think this was a blog post. I started doing videos. In the beginning, I was extremely nervous when I was recording. So I had my 5 blog posts or so that worked kind of okay. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to do them one by one or exactly one to one as I wrote them in the blog post. I'm going to make a video. And this was like, I think the first blog post that was somewhat successful. So that was the first video too.
Is Python sort of your primary language you use day to day and focus on, or is there sort of other languages that you're excited about and use a lot?
Excited about, definitely, but for the most part, it doesn't make a lot of sense. For most of the things I'm doing, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use anything else. Of course, you use JavaScript in the front end. Like back in the day when I started learning the different languages, I thought if you're just a Python coder, you're a script kiddie. You don't know what you're doing because that's the easy language. You want to be a C++ developer. You want to code in C, nowadays in Rust. And I still feel that to some degree. And I know a little bit of C, I know Java, I know C#. But when I start a new project, almost always, I don't know why I should use anything else but Python. JavaScript in the front end, because it just works. It's a general purpose language. You can do web apps with it. You can do obviously AI, data science stuff with it. The moment you want to go closer to the hardware, which I rarely do, you want to use something else. But I would say that for most projects, I use Python, yeah.
Do you think Python's in a bit of a fractured state? I was thinking about this recently because sort of UV and all of that lot is what I use now to run Python. But I still see loads of projects using sort of the old school way and pip install. And it seems like people are still trying to choose between UV and the old way. Do you have a preference? Do you use UV or anything like that?
Yeah, I use UV for everything. In every video, even if I just install a small package, I always say I'm going to use UV because it's just fast, it's easy, it's consistent. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, UV to me, like when I sort of first discovered it, made Python way simpler to sort of run, set up everything, and than it had been before. So yeah, good to see you.
It's also much faster because that's what I wanted to say. You're sitting there waiting for all the packages to install, and with UV, it's just UV add, and bam, everything's there.
Is it because it's using Rust or how, like I think the package manager? Why is it that much faster than pip? I actually don't know.
I mean, I don't know all the low-level details. I think on the one hand, it's because it's in Rust, but also they're caching packages. I'm not sure if pip does that by default. If you have a package installed in one virtual environment, if it's already just copied into another one. Not sure if that's the reason, but I think probably a combination of multiple factors.
And I think another big area of your channel is machine learning. I know you have some kind of a bachelor's degree. Is that in machine learning or is it related to the machine learning content that you're doing on the channel?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in software engineering, and my master's degree, which I'm still currently doing, is in data science. So I actually finished a degree, so to say, I think 2 or 3 years ago, but my master thesis is still like halfway through, and I don't find the time to get to it, to finish it. So the master's degree I'm doing, or I have done, is data science, which is machine learning in the curriculum, basically. So that's focused on it. But for most things that I know, for I would say 95%, everything is self-taught. So I did go to technical high school, I did go to university, but I didn't learn, except for math. I learned a lot of mathematics in university, like algebra and calculus, but most of the programming stuff is self-taught.
And what is your master thesis, if I mind asking?
Yeah, it's a session-based recommendation. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share everything, but the gist of it is it's session-based recommendation using embedding models.
Okay.
So the idea is you predict what the customer is going to buy based on what he already clicked on, and you do that not using the state-of-the-art like SASRec or BERT4rec. You do that with just a vector store of other sessions, and you try to find the most similar sessions, and you recommend the item that was bought there.
So this is still using machine learning, not AI models, right? Behind the scenes.
What do you mean? Like, what's the difference? Like, it's using the LLMs for embedding.
Yeah.
So so
it is using LLMs. Yeah, that's
open source LLMs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you more of a PyTorch guy or TensorFlow?
PyTorch. I started with TensorFlow, but PyTorch is just nicer,
easier
to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried LiteRT?
No.
It's like
what is that?
It's like a new version of TensorFlow by Google. They announced it. No, I think it's been around for some time now. But
I mean, I've heard the name, but I don't really know what it's about. I've played around a little bit with JAX. This was a bit too complex, I think. But because you said simpler. I think PyTorch is actually more difficult because you need to do everything manually. Also the training loop, you just define everything manually. TensorFlow is just you fit the model. It's more, you could say probably more opinionated, but I like the PyTorch way of doing things more because you just control every part of the process.
Do you find it harder to like deploy on PyTorch though over TensorFlow? Because I feel like, yeah. Like, are you
I wouldn't.
deploying anything?
I mean, I don't know if I ever deployed something on TensorFlow. Maybe for a side project. Don't really have an opinion on that.
What's the library that you said, Andres, that Google had?
LightRT.
LightRT.
Yeah. They just announced like a web wrapper for it, lightrt.js, which I'm making a video about, which is a lot faster than using TensorFlow. That's why I asked for it.
How is it written? LightRT?
Yeah. LITERT.
Oh, light. I thought like,
Yeah.
looks interesting. So when's the video coming out?
Probably today, tomorrow. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Speaking of that, like you have this insane cadence. You're pumping out videos every 2 to 3 days. Like, how do you find the consistency of it? Have you ever had like burnouts or like moments when you reconsidered, should I continue doing this?
There's definitely been parts or periods where it was very stressful, but this is like the one thing when someone asks me what led to your success on YouTube, I always say consistency, because I know other creators that have like systems lined out. They have production quality, they have lighting optimized, they have professional editing and everything, and they research topics. I don't do that for the most part. My principle from the very beginning was pump out on a regular basis the content and never miss a single day. And I did that really. I never missed one day in 7 years of uploading, like in the schedule, because for me, this is a religious habit that I have. I just have to do it, because if I stop doing it, who knows what's going to happen. Maybe I do one video per week, maybe I drop it. But it's definitely stressful, because what this leads to, if you have to do it, especially when I was doing a video every other day, you produce a lot of filler content. So you have content that's basically just so that it's not nothing. You just make a 5-minute video about a small package that you picked up 2 minutes ago so that you have something to upload. I still don't know if that's a good strategy. I think that there's also value in having only good videos on your channel, especially if you want to attract sponsors. But my philosophy has always been like volume wins. And regarding the burnout, I wouldn't call it burnout, but I would say that video production is the most stressful thing in my workload, because coding for me is relaxing. I could code for 20 hours and not be burned out at all. But recording depends a lot on the day. If I have a good day and words flow out without problem, it's nice. But sometimes I start like messing up sentences. I start getting stressed, and you cannot control the process of having the flow while recording.
If you're pumping out that many videos, how many videos ahead are you at one time? Like, do you have like a few that you've recorded days ago already, just lined up, ready to go? Or like how far
you
ahead
would
are
be thinking that I have a pipeline. Usually I have 1 or 2 videos. So it's like sometimes the same day I recognize, oh shit, I need to upload a video today. And yeah, let's see what happens. But I always find a way to do it.
You say you sort of find the coding part fun. Has that changed recently with AI, or do you still sort of write a lot of code by hand just for sort of nostalgia, or do you find that you actually do need to write code by hand because the AI models aren't that good yet?
Yeah, so usually what I do is I always write code by hand if I'm learning something new, because that's the way you learn. You don't want to learn with agents, at least not typing with agents. And besides that, the only time I really code by hand is when I'm building prototypes. So when I'm implementing a new feature in a large code base, I will open up a new Python file and code the proof of concept by hand, so I understand everything that's happening. And then I usually feed that to some AI and tell it to implement it. Whenever it comes to backend stuff, I always read every single line, because I need to know what's happening on the security relevant side. With frontend, I'm much more laissez-faire. So I'm just saying, yeah, do it, because if the backend is safe, you cannot really mess up the frontend too much. So I don't like frontend. I would say for building a whole product, it's definitely nicer, because I hate frontend. I hate everything that has to do with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, animations. So it's super convenient for me to just say, I want that button to be centered, because that's a nightmare, centering a diff or centering anything. But the backend part, I actually enjoy coding by hand more. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to write all the model fields and all the service layer and all the routes. It's just stupid. And also I might make more mistakes than the model, because I forget or I mistype something. It's just a waste of time, unfortunately.
What is sort of your opinions on the current AI models? Do you have a favorite, and also do you run any locally? Because I saw that you got a very nice Dell and NVIDIA GPU. How's that setup going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the models locally yet. This is something I want to do in the future. But as far as I know right now, all the open weight models that are good wouldn't fit on a device like this. They're like huge and still need data centers. What I'm using for almost everything is Opus 4.8. I'm not a huge fan of Fable, maybe just because I'm using it wrong. Not because it's incapable, I just think it's way too much. I give it a simple task and it starts thinking for half an hour for no reason. So I don't like that. Maybe it's useful when you have something really, really complicated to implement. Besides that, Opus is the only model I really trust, because with every other model, I'm kind of always on edge thinking you're going to make some mistake that seems right but isn't right. And Opus usually one-shots the solution correctly. But actually, just a couple of days ago, I started playing around with GLM 5.2 Max. On max mode, and it's surprisingly good. I haven't tried it on super complex features, but I did some fairly complex stuff and it did that very, very well. It's also very fast and very cheap. And also today or yesterday, Kimi K3 was released, and this was for me a shock, at least in terms of the benchmarks. I did use it a little bit today, but I don't have a conclusion yet. But I wanted to make a video. I think two days ago, I started preparing a video on the state of open weight models, where I wanted to say, hey, open weight models are a good alternative because they always lag behind 6 to 12 months and you just have to wait and then you get the models. And now we have a model that's outperforming Fable, at least in terms of the benchmark, which is crazy. So I'm very positive about this. As a European, I would enjoy more models coming out of Europe, but yeah. Open weight is a win for everyone, I guess.
I posted a video on Kimi K3 a few hours after it came out, and as you said, on the benchmarks, it's sort of matching Fable. It's maybe a tiny bit behind, but a lot of people thought they were like 6 to 12 months behind, and they just dropped it and were like, we've caught up. So yeah, it's very cool. And it's a bit of a weird one on sort of pricing, because I think for open models, a lot of people liked that they were going to be a lot cheaper. It's cheaper than Fable and sort of Opus, but I think it uses a few more tokens. So I think for a cheap open model that's good, GLM 5.2 is probably going to be people's favorite still. And then Kimi K3 is sort of just the Chinese model saying, look, we can catch up as well.
Yeah.
From all your projects that you've done on your videos or other side projects, have some of them become like commercial products that you put out there and had success, or not really?
No, I don't have any videos that I turned into a startup. What happens sometimes is that videos attract certain viewership that then wants certain services. So for example, if I do a video on some financial topic or some medical topic, people will watch that and contact me, hey, I need something like this. Can you help me with it? So it has led to client work, which is kind of similar, but I didn't take a video and turn it into like my own software product.
What has been your biggest freelance client? If you can tell us, no NDAs broken or anything.
I don't think that I will say the name, but I would say the largest one is in the medical field, in the, let's say medical management. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So a full management system that replaces their whole internal system of Excel sheets across different departments.
Oh, cool. And did they find you through your YouTube channel?
No, this was actually more of a word of mouth referral, you could say.
Do you feel like in the freelancing world, word of mouth still works better than like recognition if you have a big YouTube channel?
Not entirely sure. For me, definitely yes. But also, I've never tried to do it professionally. I am trying to go more into that direction, where I try to build a pipeline of LinkedIn and YouTube and really advertising my services. But for the most part, I only had a services tab on my website and never mentioned it. Now I start to mention it here and there in my videos. I think that if you have a personal brand, or if you have a brand and you're well known, you can get a lot out of it. I don't think that I'm capitalizing on this as much as I could. And then maybe it's better. But for me personally, when I look at my projects, the most interesting stuff happened word of mouth referral.
Do you do a lot of sponsored content on your channel?
Yeah, so I don't have a hard rule of X amount of sponsorships per month or per week or something. What I usually do is I get all of the sponsorship requests inbound, so I don't reach out to them, and I just filter out who looks interesting. I know I never do anything related to crypto, except I think I did one video on a crypto platform, which was just a broker, which I think was fine. But I tried to stay away from everything that seems scammy or like a waste of time. But then with the rest, if they agree to the pricing, I just try to fit them in whenever possible. I try to not make too much sponsored content. I don't want every video to be sponsored, but if it's like, if I publish twice a week and then I make a third video, so if I publish on Monday and Friday and then the Wednesday video, let's say, is a sponsored one, I would also do that every week if everything fits.
I was gonna switch the topics a bit and ask, are you a macOS user, Linux user, Windows user? What's your flavor?
Definitely Linux. I was Windows. I never used Mac, so I'm open to. I can believe that it's good. I don't like the philosophy of having this enclosed ecosystem that's very hard to leave, which is also probably the upside of being in the Mac ecosystem, that everything fits together and works out of the box. But my experience is mainly, all of my life I've been using Windows. 3 years ago, I switched to Linux. Full-time. I played around with Linux here and there before too, but then I switched to Pop! OS full-time. And since, I'm not sure when it was, 1 year, 1.5 years ago, I switched to Arch Linux, which is rolling release and more cutting edge. And ever since, I'm like fully sold on Linux. I think Linux is, for me personally, the best operating system or type of operating system, especially the Arch-based distribution, because you get the AUR, you get cutting edge packages, but you need to be a tinkerer. I don't think that it's nice to be, especially on Arch-based distributions, if you just want a system that always works without you caring about it.
Kind of off topic, a bit on though. I was scrolling on your X, and you have a picture of you and Jensen Huang. Did you get to chat with him at all?
Yeah, I actually asked him one question because the setup was, I was invited by NVIDIA to go to the GTC. So I basically spent a day there. Yeah, I did a workshop, and then I was walking around with other content creators. We were looking at stuff, listening to the keynote, and then we had a private Q&A session with press. So our label was press, so to say, even though we were just content creators. And everybody could ask a question. I asked a question about quantum computing. Then he answered it. And besides that, I just took a selfie. So no one-on-one conversation. It was very deep.
Can you share what was the question?
Yeah, if I remember it correctly, it was because he was talking about quantum computing, that's going to be relevant in the near future and that NVIDIA is well positioned to be part of it. And I asked him how long it will be until we actually see not just scientific paper progress, but real progress that is tangible, that we can actually use, and what areas that will be in. I don't remember exactly the timeline. I think it was maybe something between 2 and 5 years, but I remember that the areas where he said it's going to be relevant is everything that's related to small stuff like molecules and material science, discovering new molecules. That was his answer, basically.
Quantum computing's a realm that I sort of haven't looked into much, but it sounds crazy. And yeah, I'd love to see some sort of real world use cases coming out of quantum computing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience, or I don't have any experience with quantum computing. I know that the idea is you have superpositions, but I think with quantum, everything is like, everyone knows a little bit, and it's even more dangerous than knowing nothing because everyone thinks they know something. The only thing I know is that there's an algorithm called Shor's algorithm, and that's the relevant thing, that if you can build proper quantum computers, you can break encryption, I guess, and that's the dangerous part. But I think we're far away, as far as I understand, we're far away from that.
I hope so. I don't think the world's ready for that yet.
Yeah. Well, you do hear about like quantum safe algorithms and stuff like that. So people are kind of preparing for it, but maybe not to the extent that we need to.
Well, like what would happen though, like when we get to that point with like the whole crypto space and stuff? Like wouldn't that just come crumbling down?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any understanding of crypto because it never interested me, but blockchain is based, as far as I know, on hashing and also, I guess, encryption. I don't know. I don't want to spread misinformation here. So, but it seems to me, yeah, from a surface level, I would also think that this is going to break the mechanism behind cryptocurrencies.
Besides Jensen Huang, have you met any other celebrities in the tech space?
Unfortunately, I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay. And in your YouTube channel, what has been like the angriest comments or the harshest comments you've gotten on your channel?
Well, that's a good question. I can say that mostly they're positive, and if they're negative, they're usually some very long rant about why I make this video, because it's so useless. It doesn't happen very often, but it's like usually one guy that will write 2 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs of like a rant for why this video was useless, while almost everyone seems to be like happy that it was published and they learned something from it. I don't have a particular comment in mind, but it's usually just that the video is either it's surface level or it's too fast. So these are the two main criticisms. Either it doesn't go deep enough, and some videos just are not made to go deep. And the other negative comment is that that I sometimes just jump too quickly into it, and that I call the video for beginners, but it's not for beginners because I don't explain everything from scratch. Yeah.
You use a lot of local agents, all the other agents I think we do as well. What, like if you're working on your own stuff or client work, what's your workflow you currently go through with agents now, if you have one?
Yeah, so as I said, I use Claude Code with Opus. That's like the setup. I usually have a Claude MD file with very, very minimal instructions. For me, it's very important that the agent is concise, very concise. I don't want to read AI rambling. But besides that, I don't really have a fancy setup. I usually just have one agent. I don't work with sub-agents or multiple Claude Code terminals. What I do sometimes is I work on multiple projects at the same time because especially when I have a large request, it will take sometimes 20, 30 minutes to complete. And while I'm doing that, I can work on another project. Recently, I started playing around with the remote feature, so that you basically spin up the terminal and you connect with your phone, and then you can try to interact with it on the subway or while taking a walk. But I haven't really tried that extensively. I was hyped when I saw it, but I have to develop a habit of doing this more often. But besides that, I don't really have any super fancy setup. I keep it simple. I just open Claude and then I type, and that's it.
Do you ever use voice mode?
Yeah, I try to use voice mode here and there, but I oftentimes need more time to think. So I don't like the fact that I have to say something. I know you can stop and start again. But for the most part, I still type.
You said it pays off, I guess, nowadays with AI to be more of like a generalist. And agents have obviously changed the barrier of entry to a lot of things. So I guess going forward with your work, how you see things, what are skills that you actually think matter going forward now that we have all this AI and all the LLMs?
I think one thing that's important is you need to be ready to pivot. You need to be ready to reorient yourself. You shouldn't be too attached to what you're currently doing. So if, for example, everything I do becomes irrelevant because AI is better at every software task or every coding task, I'm happy. I mean, maybe not happy, but I'm ready to pivot to something more hardware related like robotics. I think this is an important mindset to have, to be able to adjust and adapt quickly. So adapting and learning quickly are very important skills. I also think social skills are more important than ever as a tech person, because you are the translation layer between the business or the people and the technical part. And that is definitely a USP that is not going to be replaced super quickly. Even if AI becomes super capable, people still oftentimes don't find the time to build stuff themselves or to play around with agents. They want to have some human to offload work to, that's pleasant to talk to, that understands the problem, that thinks proactively, and it implements the solution for them. So I think that's important. On a technical level, this can be wrong 6 weeks from now, but I would say that everything that has to do with big picture thinking and orchestration makes sense. ML ops, also security probably, because vibe-coded products are going to have a lot of vulnerabilities. But in general, everything that has to consider the context of the full situation, the business side, interdisciplinary stuff will be very important, I think, where you don't just understand tech, but you understand the medical field if you're doing something there, you understand finance if you're doing something there, you understand physics, chemistry, pharmaceuticals if you're doing something there, not just knowing how to code. I think that knowing how to code and being someone who knows a language and knows a framework is inflationary and a commodity. No one needs that anymore, because an AI can make less mistakes than me, type code faster than me. What I need to do is I need to be able to consider a lot of information, think in a big picture way, talk to people, and make the right decisions architecturally and from a domain specific perspective.
You just mentioned like about vibe coding and stuff. So, is there a line that you draw on when you wouldn't use agents for a specific type of work?
I think there's a difference between vibe coding and agentic engineering. Vibe coding for me is I just want something, I tell you what I want, and I just accept the result, and I don't even look at the code. Agentic engineering means I don't type the stuff myself, but I know what I would be doing. So I might know that I need to add 3 columns there to this model. I need to add these service functions. I know how to write them exactly. I have the full picture in my mind. and I just tell the agent to do that. If that's what we're talking about, I don't see the necessity for a limit because I know what I'm doing and I know what's happening. There's no need to code it out manually. I would say that I'm vibe coding. If I'm vibe coding, I'm vibe coding in the front end because there I really just care about the outcome. What?
I said centering a div.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I'm sure that my front end code can be cleaner. And probably if you have like a huge company and a huge product, you want to have a front end engineer that cleans up everything and has nice components that render super quickly and everything. But especially for prototyping and building software products, vibe coding is something that you can do when it comes to design. I wouldn't do it in the backend. There I definitely draw the limit for vibe coding, like fully not caring about what comes out of the code. But for agentic engineering, as long as you read what the output is, I don't see the reason to impose a limit, unless of course you have some sensitive data to work with.
Yeah.
You mentioned hardware a couple of times throughout our conversation and robotics. Have you been dabbling in that area yourself, and have you had any fun projects hardware related?
No, I would like to, but I have no clue. So I bought an electronics set. I tried to do something. I didn't even get to a what do you call this thing? This circuit that oscillates where you have like two LEDs jumping back and forth.
The hello world of hardware.
Yeah. Exactly. And I tried to even vibe code that. This was one of my LinkedIn posts where I said that vibe coding or agentic engineering only makes sense if you know what you're doing, because I did it with electronics and it failed. I have no idea what to do. I think it's a topic or a field that's going to be important in the future. I think it can also be interesting, but I'm not skilled at all. I don't have any experience in it. If I have to pivot, that would be probably the thing I pivot to, because it's interesting enough for me and abstract and technical enough for me to probably easily find a way into it, but I don't have any projects or anything like that.
How do you start learning something new? Do you tend to use sort of YouTube tutorials, books, sort of? What's your method?
In the beginning, when I started learning stuff, I learned through YouTube tutorials. So I watched people like me to teach me code. Nowadays, I do it differently because YouTube tutorials are not the most efficient way for me to learn stuff. I want to just jump into something. So when I learn a new framework, for example, or a new concept, I like to just get into application as quickly as possible. Of course, it depends on what we're talking about. So for math, for example, I will study using a textbook because you need to understand it from the ground up. But if I'm trying to learn a new technology, new programming language, I go to the documentation, quick start section, prototype the first hello world type of application, and then I go into a coding agent, usually give me some example of how to do this, or I look up some GitHub repository and try to just play around with the code, learning by doing, like immediately going into it before getting too caught up in the theory and everything.
Are there any YouTube channels that you really look up for, or do you watch regularly?
I don't know if I nowadays do. Mostly when I'm watching something on YouTube, it's either AI updates. Maybe there's the channel AI Explained. He breaks down what's happening on a very technical level. I like that. Wouldn't say that I'm a regular viewer. I don't watch every video, but that's the kind of content I watch on a technical level. I do watch some infotainment type of stuff, like 3 Blue, 1 Brown. I mean, it is also educational, but it's more like it's nice to watch and understand. Veritasium is also a classic one. But the channel that I learned most with, considering like when I started, was definitely Sendex. I'm not sure if you know the channel, but that's how I learned Python machine learning in the very beginning.
What actually got you interested in learning to code to start with? Because a lot of people, like myself included, started because I wanted to hack Minecraft and add some mods to it.
Yeah, actually, hacking is probably what I started with. So I don't know exactly when it was. I think I was 9 or 10, and I was playing around with a new laptop that we got. And I just Googled or YouTubed how to do a virus. And I started writing batch files that basically just spawned CMD shells like endlessly in a while true loop, essentially. And then I did some delete system 32 kind of destructive virus. I never ran it, but it was flagged by the antivirus system, which was funny enough for me. Then I did some stuff like keyloggers and password stealers. I played around with that. And then I started downloading Visual Basic 2008. This was my first programming language that I ever learned. And when I saw that I can just drag and drop UIs, I can add buttons and labels and text boxes, and I can just decide what happens when you click them. And when I saw I have like full power by just instructing the computer to do stuff, this was probably the most exciting moment I've ever felt. This was like, I got like not adrenaline, but a dopamine rush. It was like, I never want to do something else. I just saw I can build applications, and I did that every day.
Yeah, I think as I said, I had something similar. Like the second I could add something to Minecraft, it was like, whoa, I can manipulate the computer to sort of do what you want via code.
What were the programming languages taught in the university you attended in Austria?
The university, I think it started, you don't really learn that much programming. That's the interesting thing, because you go to university to learn computer science, not to be a programmer, which a lot of people didn't understand when they signed up. We do, of course, programming, and the go-to programming language is Java that you learn.
Okay.
And when it comes to operating systems, which was a module that we it was C. So we learned C, we learned Java, we learned also functional programming with Haskell. I think probably also some other languages here and there. But the focus in university was mainly on understanding the concepts, understanding object-oriented programming, operating systems, algorithms, and everything. And the programming languages, for the most part, were just tools that you choose. In technical high school, we focused mostly on Java 2 and then also on C#. Yeah, I think that was it. We never learned Python. We only learned Python in university later when it got to data science specific stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. The reason why I ask is because where I went to university in Latvia, it was super old school. We had to start with Pascal, which was like, it has no practical use case in the real world. So I think it was a waste of time that they taught us that. But it is a very strongly oriented language. So you do learn a lot of the paradigms that you need in programming. So
yeah, I think it's actually better to learn a more difficult language. I'm not sure that I would start with Python, because you get everything handed to you super easily. When you start with something like even Java, which is still kind of high level if you consider C and C++, you have to learn like what is a data type. You cannot just say there's a variable. You need to say it's an integer, and then you have to typecast it. You learn all the stuff that you take for granted in Python. And if you start with C, you probably also have a completely different view on that. So I'm not sure if Python is a good way to start. I think it makes sense to learn a more difficult language as a starter language, and then maybe to see what you have with Python.
Yeah, I'm quite happy I started on Java for Minecraft, and it sort of, when I went over to another language, it seemed a lot simpler, because I sort of then started moving things over to Python, because most of the stuff I was doing as a kid was just like small scripts. And yeah, Python felt quite magical in that it wasn't as restrained as Java was. Just sort of before we end, I would ask what you do outside of coding, if you have any sort of hobbies or any sports that you like to do.
Yeah, so sports, I do weightlifting and jiu-jitsu. So Brazilian jiu-jitsu, grappling, wrestling, everything related to that. I started in Amsterdam, actually, where we met. I started doing Thai boxing. This was also nice.
Oh, cool.
I want to do that more. But basically, yeah, weightlifting and martial arts.
What is Thai boxing, by the way?
Thai boxing is kickboxing with elbows and knees and clinch.
Oh,
so in addition to kickboxing, you're also allowed to use your elbows and yeah.
Isn't that like MMA or that's a different?
No, MMA would be with grappling. So in Thai boxing, you're allowed to do some clinch, but you're not allowed to take down the opponent on the ground and do some chokes and whatnot. You're only allowed to knock him out or to sweep him.
Yeah. Florian, do you have any hot takes about the industry, tech in general, whatever?
Hot takes. I don't think that I have any super hot or controversial opinions. I think maybe this is a lukewarm take. I think that being able to use your brain and think proactively is going to become a rare skill, that it's a USP, that you can stick out in an interview or in an application process just by showing that you use your brain and you're not just relying on tools. Besides that, I don't know. I'm always very hesitant to give predictions, because even if you're the smartest goat like Andre Karpathy or someone who's like an industry goat, I don't think that you can predict what's going to happen. So I'm usually just like looking at it, and I don't know. I think it doesn't make sense to predict too much in an environment that's so fast changing.
But then it's also fun to go back and look at your predictions like 5 years ago, and then you can make a YouTube video about commenting your own predictions, you know?
I mean, I knew that it wasn't a prediction, but I had the feeling that AI is going to explode at some point massively, because I remember playing a game I found online called AI Dungeon. Back then it was using GPT-2, and this was like the state-of-the-art language model. And I was like completely shocked by how it can retain context and answer something that I asked like 5 questions ago. And nobody knew about this. And I was showing this to people and they were impressed, and nobody talked about this. So I had the feeling that at some point this is going to explode. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a feeling like this right now.
Wow, that's interesting. Who developed that AI mountain? Was it Google?
I have no
'Cause,
idea. It was like, no, it was a random game. It was just a GPT-2 wrapper where you can just say, I opened the chest, and you could also tell it, I win the game, and it said, congratulations. So it wasn't really a good game, but it was, you could chat with it, you could tell it your name, you could leave some piece of information, then 5 questions later or 5 messages later, you could just say, remember what I told you, and it will repeat that.
But this was before OpenAI came out with the announcement, hey, here's ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was GPT-2. It was also from OpenAI, but it was so niche that back then when you were doing AI and machine learning, nobody knew what you were talking to. So it was far away from being a mainstream thing.
That's interesting. I got to look into that. Thank you. That sounds so interesting. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Better Stack podcast. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else. But today it is a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.